Hello and welcome to Courageously You with Martha. I am your host, Martha Davis Alexander, and we are talking today about your inner child. This is WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network Radio, TV, and podcast. And I am so happy you are here. Stay with me. You can reach me, so jot this down, at marthadalexander@gmail.com or at courageouslyoucoaching.com. I really want to hear from you. I am a retired attorney, and I specialize in helping people whose parents got divorced when they were young overcome some of those survival mindsets. And today, we are going to talk about loving your inner child. First, we're going to start with what is your inner child, right? We all hear those terms, your authentic self, your inner child. There have been so many phrases for it. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing. And we are taught from the media, from our parents, from our teachers, from organized religion, from anything else you can think of. We are taught to stifle that. Don't be vulnerable. Don't bring out that true self. We are taught, and we get those messages also when we're really, really young, and we learn survival mindsets. And all those survival mindsets kind of go to, gotta protect the real me, the authentic me, my inner child. And so we get stifled in play. We get stifled in being just who we are, deep down who we are and who we are meant to be. And I want to talk about how you start to really connect and love that inner child, that authentically you, becoming courageously you. How do you do that? So this weekend, I was at an amazing retreat. It was our Azarius Healing, and Cheryl Stelty is the owner and founder of it. And we did this day-long exercise. And I've always told you, do deep breathing. What I've never said before, and what I didn't realize before this weekend, was that when you do deep breathing, yes, you extend your stomach, right? But the key of it is using your actual abdominal muscles. Those muscles, bringing stuff in by expanding your abdominal muscles and sending it out by retracting your abdominal muscles. It's the use of the abdominal muscles that really, really brings your unconscious forward. And that's where your inner child is. So the more time you spend in having, even if it's 30 seconds, you take a 30-second break and you do the 3 deep breaths, right? Just sitting in that. Say hello to yourself. Ask, what do I need to know? What do you need today? And see what you get. Now that sounds really simple and, now my show's over. No, it's not. But that is how you're going to access your unconscious, and your unconscious, subconscious, is where that inner child is hidden, right? Where it stays until you can courageously bring it forth for the most of the time. Be authentically yourself most of the time. That is my jam. Teaching people how to be courageously you. So, what gets in the way of that inner child? Why aren't we all just that inner child? Why do we all have that mask that we put on? Talked a little bit about society and those things. What I really want to go into, and it's another angle of something that I've talked about, is how we get the messages that we need to hide, or that we need to change, or that we need to be something other than what we are. For me, Mine started actually fairly early, and I learned that this this weekend as well. And I'm going to be really, I haven't told anybody this other than the people who are on that. So you guys are the first to hear this live. So if I cry, just go with it. It's okay. I will survive crying. I'm going to get Kleenex just so that I can cry. So what I realized is that even as a baby, what I heard in my household was discord, right? I wasn't a planned child. So that feeling of unwanted, or the feeling of being a burden, the feeling of keeping my mom in a marriage that she didn't think she wanted, the burden of me as a person. So what message do you get when unwanted, unlovable, unworthy, not enough? Those are the four. For me, that came up with not enough, being a burden, unlovable. Those are huge. Unworthy. I wasn't wanted. The messages that sends, right? And even as a baby, right, your brain is taking in information and is sorting it out and is figuring out what you need to do to survive. That's how you learn to cry. That's how you learn to do everything that you do, right? If it isn't a bodily function, it has to be learned. Learning to meet your needs, learning to get those. And the biggest need of all in the hierarchy of needs is love, security, safety. So when I was just a baby, those things really weren't there. And they were if you listen to the stories, right? The stories as you go back. But this weekend, what I discovered is maybe I didn't feel those things as a child because my parents argued, or because I was unexpected. And that was said frequently. My parents, my mom wasn't happy. So that message was always there. So then you kind of go through, okay, I got what I need to do. I need to make sure that I am worthy. And what do I need to do that? And you go through those things. And as a child, you have a pretty primitive mind, right? Our brain isn't fully formed until we're 25. Thankfully, I'm well past that. So, wow. It was a big revelation for me this weekend that I had issues before. Most of the messages that you have, and the four basic ones I told you: you're not enough, you're unlovable, you're unworthy. Gosh darn it, I always forget that last one. Isn't that funny? It absolutely is not funny, and I'll tell you why it's not fun. Oh, you don't matter. You don't matter. There's something about that one that I have a block about. I don't like that one. I'm going to have to explore that one next. I don't matter. So, and maybe that is. Most of them, anyway, most of those mindsets, right? Those feelings, and all of us have all of them. It's just to what degree and how easy you're willing to access them because of how deeply they're buried and how long you work on it. So for me, I'd never been before 5 years old before in any of my healing or any of my journeys, because I wouldn't allow that to happen. I wouldn't open that door. It took me really, from taking Certified Fearless Living, I'm a Certified Fearless Living coach, and from that moment, the awareness of various things grew little by little. You hear something, so you're hearing this video and or podcast, and you could be like, wow, that's interesting. Huh. And it could be 2 months from now that you go, huh, What did she say? The deep breathing, and something comes out, or something happens. We all have a mountain of stuff that we've stuffed. Most of us have a mountain of stuff that we've stuffed. And you don't unpack from the bottom of the suitcase. You unpack from the top. That's the easiest to access, right? To get to your inner child. And your inner child is under this mountain of stuff that we've piled on it to make sure that it stays safe. Rules, wounds, whatever that we've learned. And every time you take a piece of it out and work on that, and some of it's taken me longer to work on than others. The more we take out, the more access there is to what's underneath that. So I've never gone from under 7, right? 7 was really where I remember some. And I remember, some of you have heard this. I remember coming home, 1968. So no cell phones, no where are you going, who are you going to hang with, right? We left after breakfast or chores, and we came home when we came home. And I remember coming home and my dad telling me that my mom and 2 of my 3 older brothers had moved out. They were no longer going to live with me. They weren't there. Our family of 6 was divided into 2 families of 3. What? 2 families of 3. I didn't see my mom or my brothers for a couple of weeks. There was some adjustment period and some other stuff going on. They lived 45 minutes away. What? So my mind, I remember that, right? I remember that as a pivotal moment in my life. That's the day the trajectory of my life completely changed. That I decided that I would, that I needed to fix that. They told me the attorneys had said, you should just do it this way. Even at 7, I thought that was just dumb, really. So that young, right? I knew I wanted to change what had happened. I had no control over it. I had no control over anything, my needs being met, any of that. That was all up to my parents. From that one moment, right, I learned that I was not worthy, evidently that I did not matter, and I'm going to claim that today, and we'll see how that flows through me, that I was unlovable. I mean, a mom leaving her kid, how can you be lovable, right? How you don't feel lovable, which is the message. I'm not saying my mom didn't love me. Of course she did. And I do know that now. But as a 7-year-old, that was not the message I got. That was not the message. That was not the brain pattern that my brain chose at 7. It chose, wow, you're not lovable enough for your mom to stay or to take you, for that matter. You are not worthy of going with them or of consideration. You are not good enough to go with them. Now, it's not to say that I would have gone. I mean, my dad was my favorite person, but the point is, these are the things that my brain said to me, that my brain chose as messages. And in order to resolve that, what my brain said, so whoever you are right now is not good enough. That's you're unlovable. You don't matter, and you're unworthy. We're not doing this, right? We need to show somebody else. We need to become somebody else. You need to wear a mask. You need to hide who you are yourself. You need to stuff that inner child under these layers of messages and protect her, because it's not working for her in this world. You are not going to get what you need. To get what you need, you can't be you. to get what you need, you can no longer be you. What? So I did, right? I shoved that light so far down and piled so much on top of it with additional things, right? So from these 4 things, I became a people pleaser. Not able to say no, putting everybody else's needs before mine, because that top need that I had that wasn't being satisfied as my inner child or my authentic self was to be loved, to be safe, and to be secure. Well, you can't be that. You can't have those things when you're unlovable, you're not enough, you're unworthy, and you don't matter. I still have to look down to get the don't matter one. Yeah, there's a block there somewhere. Anyway, I became a people pleaser. More than that, I became a chameleon people pleaser, right? So a people pleaser doesn't say no. They put everyone else's needs in front of their own, and they get overwhelmed, and some resentment. The next level of that is being a chameleon. So it's making yourself completely into a different person depending upon who you're with. I'll give you an example. That sounds a lot like a people pleaser, but there is a distinction here. And here's the example. When my mom left and I had visitation with my mom and visitation with my dad, we're all half of each of our parents, right? This half is my mom. This half is like my dad. I'm together, and that makes the perfect me, right? The authentic inner child that I now love, although there's still a little bit of baggage on there, evidently. So when I'm going to see my mom, and I lived with my dad, remember, she moved out. I lived with my dad. When I went to see my mom and my brothers, and we have 2 separate families of 3, right? And there's always a different mix of people. So when I went to see my mom, in order to be loved, my 7-year-old brain, my survival, my amygdala said, so she doesn't like your dad. Yeah, she doesn't like dad. She would rather not have anything to do with dad. So what are the things about dad she doesn't like? I don't know. I'm not sure. Do you have those things? I don't know, because I don't know what they are. Okay, then you need to get rid of everything that's like your dad. Now, the chin, the legs, some of the other stuff I can't get rid of, the physical things I can't get rid of, but the personality things I could pick out and certainly stuff in and deny. So my inner child learned, when we're with mom, we can't be like dad, which means I have to deny a whole half of my inner child. I can't show that half. The rest has to be a mask, right? I have to have that mask in order to do that. Okay, I can do that. And that inner child gets blanketed more and more. And then when I go back to see my dad, and it depends on what brothers are there too, right? Because 2 of my brothers left, and I really needed, and the ones who are closest in age to me left, or were taken. So I really had to decide and figure out in my own little 7-year-old brain, what of me do they like? What of me do they not like? What do I need to change? And what do I need to show as who I am so that they will love me again? So that they will find me to be enough, so that they will find me to be worthy of being part of their family, so that they will find that I matter, so that I matter. Who do I need to become so that I matter to them? I call that the chameleon effect. Then when I went back to see my dad, it was the reverse, right? I had to bring out the parts of me that were my dad, stuff the parts of me that were my mom, the blonde hair and the light colored eyes and some of the other stuff just wasn't going to be hidden. First of all, I liked blonde hair on me. So that just wasn't going to go away, right? Nobody was going to let me in 1968 dye my hair a different color and then dye it back every other week. So some of that you just had to suck up. I just had to suck it up and do my best to be more like my dad. Who did my stepmother need me to be, right? How was I going to get her love? I've already had a mother leave me. So what other ways did I need to change? When we come back, we're going to talk about a few more ways that I needed to change and hide myself. This is Courageously You with Martha. I am your host, Martha Davis Alexander. I am a recovering attorney and a certified fearless living coach, and I coach now adult children of divorce. You are on the Going Solo Network, which is WGSN-DB. Best singles radio show out there. You can reach me at 805-422-6865 or love your comments at marthadalexander@gmail.com or check out my website at courageouslyyoucoaching.com. We'll be right back after these messages. You don't want to miss the end. Hi, and we are back. This is Courageously You with Martha. I am your host, Martha Davis Alexander. I am a recovering attorney and a certified fearless living coach. My business is courageouslyyou.com, courageouslyyoucoaching.com, sorry. And my email is marthadalexander@gmail.com. I work with now adult children of divorce who have the same survival skills that I have. If this sounds familiar to you and you want to be on my email marketing list, just give me so that you can get my newsletter and tips and things about all of these subjects. Please email me at marthadalexander@gmail.com. And please know that Thursdays at 3, this is the subject, and we will be talking about all things Courageously You, becoming courageously you. We're going to finish up today with loving your inner child. So I've talked a little bit about how your inner child, your authentic self, your true self, the person, the soul you were born to be, the energy that you were born to be in this world, how it gets piled on and hidden, and how based upon society and events in our childhood traumas, whether your parents were divorced, whether your parents just fought a lot and maybe should have gotten divorced, some of the stuff is the same, or whether your parents were alcoholics, the messages are the same. And the manifestation of the masks we put on our face are really similar. So I've talked about people pleasing. I've talked about becoming a chameleon. The last one I'm going to talk about today is waiting for the other shoe to fall. If you're unlovable, if you're not good enough, and if you don't matter, and if you are unworthy, if your mind tells you those things, if those were the messages, right? Those are the base messages. And your true self hides to make sure that the needs are met, right? When everything's going really well, can you accept that? Can you accept that happy existence? In my experience, it's really hard. If the core message to your inner child, and your inner child believes those four things: you're unworthy, you're not enough, you don't matter, see, I remembered it, and you're unlovable. If those four things is what your brain believes, has been told and has absorbed and gives you that message, and your inner child is hiding from those things and putting on a mask so that you can be worthy, you can matter, you can be loved, and you can be good enough. If you have that mask on, it is hard to believe that you have true happiness, right? First of all, it's a mask. And your inner child, your authentic self is like, but I'm here and I'm under all this garbage. If your mom left when you were 7, or your dad left when you were 7, or your parents fought all the time, and you had a time before that was happy, and now it's not happy, and you have survival mode, or at least the illusion that it was happy before, and now, and you reach adulthood, and things are going pretty well, and you're on track, you're doing what you want to do. Do you think maybe that might hit a wall that says, this seems too good to be true? Can this be true? Can I actually be happy? But I'm not worthy of this happiness. I'm not enough. I am not lovable, and I don't matter. So this is all going to go away. I am waiting for the other shoe to drop. I am waiting for my happily ever after. What happens after the fairy tale, right? What happens after the happily ever after? I'm waiting for that to crash and burn. And I lived my life waiting for the crash and burn. There was a time in my 40s that I had everything I wanted: the husband, the house, the kids. Still have all those things. Just don't want to misrepresent. But when I was in my 40s, I was like, I'm depressed. There was no reason for it. I went to therapists. They couldn't, that connection hadn't been made in my head. That all these things that I believed, that I didn't believe I deserved that happy ever after. I didn't believe that I was worthy of that happy ever after. And I didn't believe that I would be able to keep it. I didn't believe that it was real. I believed that it was going to crash and burn. And I was so terrified of that. I cried every day. I didn't know why I was crying every day. My husband would come home and say, "Are you okay?" And I'd be like, "I have no idea why I'm crying, but I am absolutely crying." Now, some of you may be saying that could be perimenopause. It could be menopause. It was more than that. I truly believed it was all going to go away. And I had no reason for that belief, that inner belief that I had, that I couldn't even form the words for. But you can see how it all kind of ties together with those early beliefs. And we all have those early beliefs to some extent or another, right? So how do you love that inner child? How do you unwrap that inner child from all those burdens, all those wounds, all those things that it has experienced? For me, that she has experienced. You start by being gentle with yourself. You start by deciding that you're going to love yourself, whoever she is, all the nooks and crannies, all the things that you did wrong, all those things. You're going to love all the ugly and all the good, because all come together for who you are now. All your experiences are who you are now, are the thoughts, the feelings, the being that you are. That is you truly. And it is okay. The mask is okay. You did it because it was a survival instinct. It's not your fault. It's what we all do. It's what society tells us to do at this stage. So loving your inner child, start by being gentle with yourself. Start by knowing what you enjoy. So I love to sit under a tree in my yard. I love that tree. I love that tree. And that connection, that sitting there with my tree and just looking at the sun coming through the leaves, helps me to get to a grounded place where I can reach that inner person, that authentic me. She can come out. She can play a little bit and be with me. I can say, I love who you are. And that may be enough for a while. That may be where you are. You may not be ready for an 8-hour seminar deep dive into your inner child and the wounds to heal them. That may not be where you are right now, and that's okay. But see him or her, see that inner child. Acknowledge that there is an authentic you inside that has been held back, that has been held down, and that the mask that we put to the world isn't real. Let that inner child shine at least a couple of times a day, whether it's just smiling at the dry cleaners or at the grocery store or wherever you are. Let that inner child shine. And the more you gradually do that, the more you acknowledge your authentic self, the more you come to know your authentic self. And you can do that through that deep breathing. You can sustain it for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, however long you need to sustain it. We sustained it for half an hour at a time or an hour at a time in this seminar. The more you sustain it, the more you get into that place where you recognize yourself, you recognize your inner child, and you can come to know yourself and really embrace yourself and embrace who you are and be willing to show who you are. You can drop the masks. You can let the masks go. You can put them away, and not to say that they're not going to jump out of the drawer again. They do that. Occasionally mine jump out and I go, what was that? Wait a minute. No, that's not who I am. That's not what I want to show. I want to show my heart. I want to show my authentic self. I want to show who I am because I'm fabulous. So something that was in another video, another podcast that I did that applies here too, is once you know who you are, once you explore that, remind yourself every day, that's who you are. Get rid of those old tracks, those old neural pathways that hide that inner child, that say you have to have a mask, you have to make sure you are worthy, that you're good enough, that you are matter, and that you are lovable. So say to yourself, I matter. I matter. I matter to me. I am worthy of whatever I receive. I am lovable. I'm really lovable. And I am good enough for everything that life brings me. Say those to yourself. So as much as you were programmed repeatedly with those messages as a child, and you won't remember that, but as you were, those messages were repeated. And your brain reminded you of those things over and over and over again to create the pathway of security, and so that you can get love, and so that you can do those things, right? To prove to you that it was okay, and the masks sort of prove to you that all those things are true. So if you don't want the masks, you need new neural pathways. You need to reprogram your mind. We all need to reprogram our mind to say those 4 things. I am worthy. I am worthy. I am lovable. I matter. And gosh darn it, I am good enough. The more you say those things, you can have a note card. It can be in the bathroom. It can be, on your mirror while you're brushing your teeth, that you're telling yourself that. It can be wherever you need it. It can be your screen. But tell yourself, or record it and listen to it while you're sleeping. Because you want to change those neural pathways. You want to love your inner child. You want to be your authentic self. And if you don't, then don't listen to this. Go ahead and keep going. At least meet your authentic self. Know who he or she is and embrace them once a day. You will find that you are happier and healthier, and you shine more. Your light shines more. If you're stuck and that seems too hard, I recommend doing 5 acknowledgments of an accomplishment you did today. And it can be really small. I acknowledge myself for putting on makeup today. I acknowledge myself for feeding the dogs today. It's got to be something that stretches you. Feeding the dogs doesn't stretch me. It's something I do a couple of times a day. I acknowledge myself for working on LinkedIn today. Whatever it is that you did that felt like going outside your comfort zone, felt like a stretch, you knew you could do it, but you've been putting it off, or a risk, something you're not sure you can do, but you kind of want to, or there's an inkling that's a good thing to do, or something outside the risk is I'm going to die if I do that. I don't want to do that at all. That is a die for me. No, I'm not doing that. For some of you, that might be having a podcast. It was for me last August. Now this is my comfort zone. I love doing this. So acknowledge those steps. And the other thing you can do is gratitudes. What are you grateful for? And it's something outside of yourself. I am grateful that every morning my dogs greet me with joy and love. And that peps my energy. It makes me smile. It makes me laugh. And I really am grateful for their love and attention in the morning. Make it detailed so that you can remember that, what you did. It so helps. And as you start to do that, that shows gratitude to your inner child. That shows love to your inner child as well. So let's make a pact, you and I. Let's love our inner child. Let's love our authentic self. Let's find our authentic selves and share them with the world. Because there's only one you. There's only one me. We are unique. and we are created beautifully. So let's not fake it till we make it. Let's not put the mask up. Let's work to be authentic. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Martha Davis Alexander with Courageously You with Martha. Again, I'm a recovering attorney and a certified fearless living coach, and I work with people whose parents got divorced when they were children, who might have some of these burdens, or anyone who's, when they were young, has some burdens that they would, and wounds that they would like to look at and work through. This is GoingSoloMedia.com, the best show, the best network there is. Reach out to me if you have questions or comments, or you want me to talk about something that you're curious about. MarthaDAlexander@gmail.com, or you can contact me through my website, CourageouslyYouCoaching.com, or you can even have my phone number, 805-422-6865. You guys have a phenomenal week. I will meet you right back here next week, Thursday at 3 p.m. PST or 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Have a fabulous day. Bye-bye.